I think the main challenge is that the traditional regional organizations in this region are facing new problems with the global power shift, the rise of countries like China and Brazil. We have a new type of regionalism, and the traditional regionalism of organizations like OAS, for example, or the Caribbean Community, or even Mercosur, UNASUR, those models are facing more challenge because we now have many more new issues to deal with, not just trade, but also climate change and finance, investment. We also have kind of an overall decline of Western dominance in the global order. We have the rise of new actors. So it's a very confusing time. It's a time when old type of regionalism is struggling to adjust to the new realities. And how do you create new institutions? Where do you get resources? Are you going to get resources from the same countries of the West, or are you going to get new resources from countries like China? But China can make a big difference to regionalism or development in this region, and that's what we also have. Unfortunately, kind of a backlash against democracy in this region. So how do you convince the new governments to support regionalism at a time when it might affect their own regime security or political legitimacy? Yeah. So the idea of multiplex world is a new way of looking at world order, how world order is changing. So let me just tell you, this book called The End of American World Order is basically lays out the concept of the multiplex world. And the argument is very simple, is that the traditional American hegemony or American-led international order is declining, and we are entering not a multipolar world, because multipolar world still means the dominance of a few great powers, but we have a world of a diversity of actors, including states, non-state actors, private corporations, and NGOs, and the traditional mode of global governance, which was built around the UN, WTO, IMF, World Bank, they're not the only types of governance structures around. So the multiplex world talks about a decentered, post-hegemonic world order, where regional organizations, non-state actors, they all play a very important role. And global governance, whether it's trade or it's environment, they're not driven necessarily or most importantly by the sort of old multilateral organizations. We have many new forms of public-private partnership or governance structures coming up. And if you don't mind, I can show you that this book, Why Govern, is basically lays out what are the key trends in global governance. And it argues that we have a new type of global governance emerging. Maybe it's you can call it multiplex order, but I call it fragmentation. The old style multilateralism based on the key institutions of the global level are no longer the only types of governance. There's a proliferation of different types of actors and governance, and global governance is becoming more democratic and more decentralized.